What is up, people? Half Slab Bacon back with another episode in Bacon's World. So, guys, Bacon's been busy. I didn't get a video out on the weekend because I was busy doing some stuff. Well, I was partly babysitting, so there was that, but I used the time wisely. Guys. Oh, cave noise. And yeah, it wasn't working on this. Tiny says hi. As usual, he always has to talk when I start recording now. So, yeah, when you do a big project like this, you gotta take a break. So, well, you guys can always tell by the title. I think about, dodging the title and giving it, a fake title sometimes, just to mess with you guys, but then when people search for something, they wouldn't be able to find it. So there's that. But yeah, I did tweet out over the weekend that I was working on something big. This is one of my new favorite things, just to watch these idiots track the golems up there. Haha, sucker. Yeah. I did start working on this a little while ago, and just kind of didn't say anything. Remember, we hollowed it out, and I kind of commented that we didn't have a lot of space to work with. Yeah, that was the thing, right? So you can see, actually, I pushed this wall over here right to the bunny farm. Like, that dirt block's visible in the bunny farm, so it's got to stay there. But you can see I kind of pushed right to the outer limit. The outer limit. Remember that show? Yeah. And you can see I've got a layout going on here. That's because it's good, guys. My design is done, and it's freaking amazing, if I do say so myself. Alright, guys, so right now we are in front of Mr. Ethos Slab's original potion brewing stand tutorial. Now, some things were a little bit broken in it, namely the item elevator he used. So in order to recreate it, I did have to change it ever so slightly, namely just the item elevator. And that's really it. The same concepts that he came up with still apply to potion brewing, okay? So this system is able to detect when you're brewing and lock the system from pulling the bottles out until the brewing cycle is finished, and then send them into a chesticle. And when it sends a finished batch into a chesticle, order another batch, etc. And it's able to tell when you're out of water bottles and halt the brewing, then stop it. And it even has an indicator light to let you know that you're out. This, while it wasn't the original Potion Automatic Brewing Lab, as a matter of fact, that began in the 1.5 Redstone update snapshots. So beginning of 2013, I think. Either late December 2012 or January of 2013 was when the Redstone update snapshots were out. So going a ways back, and people were onto this stuff right away. But Etho quickly became the standard. You can see it still works. See how it's, as soon as I turn it on, it's automatically started. It's pretty fast. But we need to do better than this, guys. Part of the problem is this setup only uses one brewing stand. We need more better. We need faster. Also, it has ugly levers, and you guys know I hate those. There's some other problems if we want to tile multiple stands, and that's why I wanted to come into creative. I did attempt to do a one wide tileable, which, no way. Ethos is 3. Well, let's not say no way. Let's say I've basically got it done. I've got to work out a few more timing things, but it's too big for the man cave. And, well, I'll probably do it like a bigger build for funsies when I'm done working that out, but I decided it was too big for the man cave. So right here we actually have a combination of Ethos turned into a 2 wide tileable which is small as you can get his, and my 2 wide tileable. And the reason being is I wanted to show you the first 2 here are ethos. You can see how we got streams crossing. This is a problem, right? So it basically works on the concept that you use the hopper above the brewing stand as an item filter by putting 22 items in it. That gives you a signal strength of 1. As soon as another item enters, you can see we'll get a signal strength of 2. We'll throw that in there. The problem with that is the way his setup is, you can't tile it because we're using a redstone wire over here. So now we've got cross streams. You can see how it's affecting this one as well, even though it shouldn't be. Okay, it's turned the torch off for that one as well. And what that torch is doing is locking our water bottle input. So what most people do, because this kind of like the default standard, is they go 3 wide. So they put a space here. And since 1.9, what a lot of people will do is in that space in between the 2 of them, they'll put a second hopper for another chest filled with the blaze powder, because now we need blaze powder to power, right? And it has to come in from the side as well, like the water bottles. Otherwise, it'll go into the top to make strength potions. So that is kind of the issue with his setup. So my first stage was shrinking it down to 2 wide. And I did that really, really simple, guys. This is all we had to do. We kept his repeater with redstone dust, the gold standard everybody uses, locking the bottom hoppers. But we need to move the torch, and we still need to lock our water bottle dispensing system so that, you know, it's not trying to put water bottles in, right, when it's not brewing. So you can see, same setup, torch is off because we've got the 22 items in there, right, or 23 items instead of 22. We take that back out, bam. It powers that, and that line locks our water bottle dispense system. Now, another issue is you have to go straight up with this design. Well, you don't have to, but pretty much for water bottles. And I needed to change that as well. So I made this small change here, which allows us to get this. Now, the streams aren't crossing. Don't cross the streams, guys. We do, however, have one other problem. If we're running an array, we also need, because with his original concept, we need the hoppers that are pulling from our main line. Whoops, I broke that. We'll just put that there. We need that locked so it's not pulling the next batch in that's trying to go to the next bay, etc. So a lot of people do that with fancy timings and stuff. Well, guys, not necessary. What we're going to do is we're just going to add another block here and another torch. And then we're going to go up and we're going to add another torch. And this is the part where it changes a bit based on redstone timing and how many items you're trying to push through. So the standard potion is, 4 to 5 items pretty much. Well, 3, actually. I think some are 2. Yeah, you can go as low as 2. But to get 5 items through, we need a delay. We could go 6 items. I'm going 5 because the 6th would be Dragon's Breath. And guys, it's too hard to come by to like warrant extra work just for that. I mean, you're lucky if you get a stack fighting a dragon. So plus, like, they're really not used for that much. You know what I mean? I mean, the best tipped arrow doesn't even use it. So 4 repeaters on a 4-tick delay, so 16 ticks is enough to let 5 items from the second that first comparator or that comparator detects the first item coming into the system, it's enough time to let 5 items through before it locks this. So that's why we're going with 16 tick for a repeater delay. Okay? But we do have a bit more of a problem here, guys. I shouldn't have never broke that. And that is, well, what happens if items are trying to go over to the next one? Just as this loads, it'll pull down part of our items, right? The next batch going to the next one, right? Like, let's say this one is active. Okay, we'll throw our block in there, and we'll see. Okay, so it's locked, but it finishes brewing just as the next batch is coming over to this one over here. That's why we got this comparator here. So really, really simple. In order to do that, we just need to detect the first item coming in here and put a stop to it. And that's why we're not having our hoppers for the water bottles come up here like most people do. Instead, we're going to drop a comparator here. We're going to drop a block onto that. We're going to drop another block here and another block here. Now we're going to drop a torch there, a block on top, redstone dust here, and another torch here. You can see how it just fired that off. So what's going to happen is, while this is locked, this will stay in this state. This being locked from the bottom from it brewing is not going to affect it. But if items start to come through as this is shutting off, as soon as one hits here, what you see happen is it toggles the torches and turns it on, forcing this to stay locked until the last item has passed through over to our next brewing section in the chain. So that's kind of the meat and potatoes I wanted to show you guys. Now the trick to doing that is we have to have this here, and instead of having our water bottle line come here, this is our water bottle line, and we're going to tap into it like so. All right, guys, so quite a bit later, most of the brains of the operation are in. So you can see there's no redstone dust on this, so I put a torch there for now, but all the delays are set up. The line for the items coming in is done, and you notice I've got this pointing out that direction because we're going to tap into it for an emergency overflow chest. We've got our line for the water bottles set up, all the storage chests in, our smart locking system is in, and everything else for the core, the meat and potatoes, shall we say, of it is in. You notice I'm using the white concrete. That's because some of this is going to be visible from outside with our layout, the chosen layout I have, so I wanted to keep the white theme going. I guess we're going to have a mishmash of white blocks because we're using quartz slabs, and I think I might actually finish the back wall in the iron with these bad boys, the sea lanterns in them, just to kind of complete the feel overall. You can also see I'm using the sea lanterns to cap off our water and our item lines respectively. So the item lines, the items are going to come from this side, and the water line is running this way and stops right there. So the last hopper for the water line is there because we do not need any water bottles past that point because this is the last cell. You'll notice I've got a comparator here, even though we don't need to lock anything per se for those cells, but I will explain why that's there and why it's needed a little later on. All right, peeps, are you ready? Are you ready? Ka-chow! So here's what the inside of the room's gonna look like. I just wanted to, get the bulk of it set up. Obviously, we're not done. These are left open for ease of working, but here's gonna be our selector panel. So The 4 in the corner are going to be in an always on state, and then we're actually going to use redstone blocks to toggle these because they power the lamp directly but not anything side by side. And that way we can use buttons instead of levers, because levers suck. Well, they don't suck. They have their use, but they're ugly, so I prefer to hide them. So here's the order of which I'm putting everything. Modifiers on the end, splash on the very end, and then, you know, like a logical order of like health, strength, speed, jumping, night vision, water breathing, regen, fire resist, you know, bad weakness stuff, and yeah, modifiers. It's thing. Over here, we're going to be having our stock. So we're going to set up a storage system here, complete with a shulker box loader. And this light will be off all the time. This one will be on when there's stuff in the system that needs to be transferred into shulkers. This is going to be our on-off button. You can see I pulled a clever little trick where the button, we can push it, but the lamp there is actually what's giving us the name, system on-off. And then over here, we're going to have a stock indicator. So when this is off, it's going to mean something is empty. And when it's on, it's going to mean we're good to go. Now we're doubling that up by having these lights here. So when I see this off, I'm going to be able to take a quick look over here. And if these are off, it means we're out of water bottles. Refill them in our water bottle station right here. So I won't even have to go up top, if that's all it is. But if I see this is still on and this is off, or I refill these and these come on, but this is still off, that'll mean I need to go up and actually fill some of these bad boys. And you'll see how we do that. You will see how we do that. So obviously you can see here's our wall. We're actually going to have to come out here for some of the wiring. So I'm going to have to knock part of this wall out on either side to get the wiring in, and then just expand the wall out a block to cover it, kind of thing. Yeah. And you can also see how close we're getting here. Like, we will bump up against this on the ceiling. I might even join them up, but we're going to have doors to access either side of this because, you know, look how crazy super tight it is back here, right? So it's going to be a thing. Yeah, we're going to be really tight for space in here, but I made it work. So here's how I'm lighting up the 4 on either side. Just a redstone line there. These lamps I've actually used to mark something, guys. To mark something. What I'm marking is where we're going to start our switch that's going to turn everything on and off. So we need 13 spots for everything. So we're going to take these out in this particular instance, and yeah, that should be how far we go. Now if we actually take this out, you can see the buttons right there. So this is how we're going to get around with making our selection panel. Oh crap, I put... See, and we can just double check that we have it lined up right. And then what we're actually going to do here is we're going to put stickies here. And we don't have to worry, see how it's low enough here? We don't have to worry about like wrecking any of this. Now, you could like bud some of these and lock these up by sending power through them if the farm is running. But ideally, you don't want to, you know, power your farm or make a selection while the farm is running. You could with this, and odds of it actually screwing up a batch is pretty slim to none, but we still don't want to do it. So we're going to put stickies here, and these are actually going to toggle the system, and then we're going to get away with that by just going like so, and we're going to take these guys out, and we're going to go like so. all the way down. And then this is what is actually going to toggle the blocks back and forth. But in order to do that, I have to move these, and then we have to have these bad boys facing in that direction, like so. So I'm going to get that done off camera. I just wanted to show you, and then we'll make some more progress on the other stuff. All right, guys, a bunch more done. So our water bottle filling station is in, and you're going to start to see now, oh, the lag. I just restarted Minecraft, so it's loading the whole cave in. Yeah, it's a thing. You're going to start to see what I meant about how tight this room was, and it's literally designed for this space. So there's our pistons, which will toggle the light on and off for that. And yeah, we're up against the wall. I put our item elevator in just because it's a thing. I'm not sure if I want to close this off or leave this like open to drop down, like bam. But you can see somewhere in here, I think. Somewhere in here. Yeah, there it is. You can see just how tight we got there. Like, yeah, we're tight. I had to cram this in and squeeze the wall in as best as possible to kind of accommodate our item elevator, because we had the thing there, the, what do you call it? The cocoa bean thing. I had to worry about setting off the redstone for that. So this is super compact. The clock is actually part underneath. Like, you can just see the top observer, the other one's underneath. It's crammed in about as tight as we can get. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, we don't count that one. That's an individual. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the hoppers, about 5 storage chests full for water bottles. Oh, yeah. And I finished, like, the back wall here. All iron, what the heck, continue. And then we'll use the white concrete everywhere else. Yeah. And you can see off the bottom chest there, we've got a comparator there. And the reason for that is we're actually going to take a signal off that bad boy. And did I not? Crap! Never mind. I'll grab the concrete in a minute. In a little bit. We're going to take a signal off that bad boy, and we're going to route that for part of our logic. We'll get to that in a sec. But here you can see I've got a bunch of droppers pointing down. And those are going to be like our bulk storage kind of thing. The reason we're using those and not chests is because we don't want to have to use trap chests, like, because, you know, they'll misfire, they'll accidentally fire. And you can see this one for the nether wart, we've got no piston mechanic underneath it. It's always going to send a trailing nether wart. So from here, we're just going to put droppers like so, and these are going to be the ones that actually fire into our hopper chain. So yeah, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing. And then we need to go like a so. And here's where we're going to run our hoppers out. Before we do that, we're actually going to place a bunch going down. So that'll be storage. And then we're going to use the hopper to measure how full our system is, and we're going to create some logic where if one of these hoppers empties, it'll lock the system. So that way, whenever we get low, these are still full, completely full, so we never, ever, ever have to worry about getting a misfire, ever. It'll never happen where a dropper tries to fire a potion ingredient off and there's none there. We want to completely avoid that. So we do that like so. We need some lights on top of these bad boys, which apparently I forgot to put in my inventory before we came over here too. And then up here, nice and simple, is where our firing logic is going to go. So for this, really all we need is a bunch of repeaters. And now you can see, like, when we toggle the system on, the block's going to get raised so these can fire. That way we can turn it on and off without anything misfiring. Now on the end here, in my testing, for some reason, one tick on all of these were fine and the items stayed in order, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just because it's the last dropper, the netherwort one would actually lead ahead unless it was on 4 ticks. So the rest are on 1 tick. We're going to keep that one on 4 ticks. That's it. That's all as far as that goes. Then we still need to put a clock in place to run into all of this, and that'll be a thing. But then one other neat little thing I wanted to show you guys is we need to tell the clock when to fire, right? You can see I've glassed in pretty much all of this. You can also see I've got that comparator has nothing attached to it. That's because we're doing this. So that end hopper, we're going to use this as a safety switch. So whenever we shut the system off, it's going to lock this bad boy. So if we're in the process of sending anything, it'll get stopped here and it'll wait for the next time we start the system. In addition to that, we're going to use this whole line to actually be smart and crap. We got to go down and get some. Let's get the stuff. I forgot. I'm an idiot. I'm supposed to have all this stuff on me before I hit record. Yeah, we're going to need a bunch of this. So let's take a bunch of that. We're going to need, I grabbed those. Did I forget anything else? Repeaters. We need more repeaters. Yes, we need more repeaters. That's what it was. Okay, so yeah, here's for our shulker box system. I've laid that out. I'm going to wait like till the end to get that done. 1, so I have open access. 2, so I can squeeze it in underneath our clock and everything. But what we're actually going to do here, guys, you're going to love this. It's such a cool idea. We're going to use observers that detect our locking mechanisms for each chain to go ahead and tell our clock when it wants another batch. So we're going to use a trick with the hopper clock to only fire once when we first start up the system, and then it's going to stop. Actually, we're using the same trick I used in the sand duper, where if you use one regular piston, it'll fire once and then it'll stop. We're going to do that, and we're going to have this connect to it so that it literally waits for one of these to tell it to go again. So what will happen is when it locks, it's going to fire and request another batch. When one empties, it's going to fire and request another batch. Now, you say that means each one's requesting twice. Isn't that going to be a problem? You don't want to double up? You are right. Don't worry, I thought of that. I'll explain it all in a little bit. But this is kind of the remainder of the brains of our operation. Outside of just a clock and some fail safes, that's basically it. These all lock themselves independently and even ask for another batch for the next one. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, I've got to run a comparator output yet, and clocks and all that kind of stuff. So in terms of comparator output, let me show you what I'm thinking here. I'll just do 1, and then I will leave you with the I will leave you to do the rest. So this isn't a 4 mile long or 4 million hour long ceiling episode. It's going to be long enough as it is. So what we're actually going to have going on here, guys, is this whole row is going to have comparators going into a light. The light's just going to be a visual indication of whether the hopper's full and the system's good. So we've got one light down there to tell us if any of this is empty. And then these lights will give me a quick indication when I come up of which items need refilling. Okay, So we'll have a whole row like this, and then I'm going to put some redstone wiring on, not there. Dang it, Bobby. There. Let's just go ahead and... No, it is the... Never mind. We are going to have the redstone wiring here. And if you can hear that background noise, I don't know who's doing what, but my apologies, guys. My apologies. So... basically, we've got an end-or gate, right? If any of these are empty, the torch will turn on. It'll light this whole redstone wire up, and that will lock the whole system and shut it down and prevent it from running any farther without items. In the same sense, over here, I'm going to connect this output for our water bottles up to that system, and then we need to run, you know, obviously down to the light down there so we can see it from down there. So I'm gonna get all that done. I'll be back. All right, guys, so a little more progress, and I wanted to show you the thought process here. So I've rigged in an overflow chest for our actual items. In testing, once I had everything worked out, this pretty much never got anything in it, but it is nice to have one here just in case, say, I physically screw up putting stuff in, screw up the sink or whatever. There's somewhere for the overflow to go rather than just a whole bunch of it piling up into one of our brewing stands. And then the comparator from that bottom chest. So all these chests will be allowed to empty. We'll get almost 5 chests worth of a batch of potions is going to be our cycle before it'll automatically shut off. So when I want to make a potion, I can, you know, start the machine up and go do other stuff if I want and get a little shy of 5 double chests full, or, you know, I can do the manual stop when I get a chest or 2 full or whatever. Yep. So then that's going into this block and then powering this block, powering these repeaters, and you can see they go up into a torch tower. And this is where that light downstairs comes into play. So that torch tower is powering this repeater, so that adds to this line, right? And remember, if any of these are empty, or now this is on because we don't have any bottles, it's going to trigger our shut off. As far as the lighting to go down goes, I'll just show you guys here. So I've got that line coming out, and this is hard to see, but you can see it's going into a torch, and then sticky piston, which when this is off, that torch will turn on, which will fire the redstone block off, which will power that dust, which will power that block. That redstone block will come down and light the light. So right now we can see it's wired up good, but it's off, meaning we have no stock, right? Stock indicator, no stock. These lights are off, and that's off, meaning not only do we have no bottles, but we have no items with which to brew. Now the other side. This gets a little more complicated. So we're making use of a button here. So there is a button on both sides. This one's just for show, for it to match up with this one. It doesn't do anything. But this one we actually have wired in. So we'll be able to push this and you can hear it firing. Okay? So I'm going to turn it off right now because that's the way I want it. Like when I'm... Oh, I guess I can put these back here now. I want it off while I'm wiring the rest, just for simplicity's sake. But you can see that's just running into a repeater, and then I have an observer detecting that, which is going to fire the sticky piston, which has an observer on it, which will power that regular pistons. Then that piston will power that observer, which will push the block down, right? Which will turn the light on. Now let's go up and I'll show you basically the rest of the logic here, how this fits into our on-off switch, but as well into our whole system. So when this is up, this line's going to be powered, right? Now we're going to use a monostable right here to fire our first order and for the clock that we build for each subsequent order. So when that's up, this line's locked, meaning that piston's going to be up. So when we send a signal through it, which we're going to do right here, nothing will happen, right? Nothing will happen at all because it's up. So that's going to lock our system, which I'm super happy about. And then we're also going to run this line, and here's the cool part that I never told you guys about. Let's just grab this and go like so, and a like a so, and a like a so, and I guess I'll have to do this for now. Let's go like that, and let's... Well, that's gone forever. No, I'll go down and get it in a sec. So the reason I'm using all repeaters here, one is to reduce lag, but two is just so it doesn't affect any of the wiring we're going to run for our storage system. But you can now see when we turn that on, it's going to turn this off, right? See how that pulses there? That's right. So we're going to hook our clock up to this wire right here. So when this bank of repeaters goes off, it's going to flash that wire and start our clock to call for the first order. And then I've got to run the whole clock all the way back into this, which is actually going to send our orders through the system via repeaters. You follow? I know. It's a lot going on. It really is. But what do you want from me? It's a big build. It can't be helped. All right, guys. So before I go any further, I want to show you all this because it's getting tight in here. Like the rest of it's going to get pretty compact. So I got a lot of blocks to cover on the outside because I just couldn't stand staring at that much brick there. It was like most of this I don't mind because it's covered, right? Like you barely see it, you know, in there over here where the torches are. It's not something that would stand out too much, but that big chunk there, because we had to put all this wiring in, so you can see, let's just pop up. So this is now wired in, so when any of this is lit up, including the torch tower for the water bottles, it's going to fire this repeater, sending this block down, connecting to this line, which connects to both our clock and our firing mechanism, our monostable, for our item call, which is just a piece of redstone dust that's attaching to here because there's nothing blocking it, right? There's only that sea lantern, and the signal will travel through a sea lantern. But now we have to do the heart of it. So you remember we had this line underneath here that's going to come over here and fire the repeaters underneath there. You can see where they are, which will pulse this. That's going to send our initial call here, right? So when that happens, let's put our 11 items, and that's going to be the heart of our timer. From my testing, 11 was just enough. Now you should see this pulls back and just stays there. Yeah, see? So when this goes off, it's going to pulse that and start the clock. And you can see while it's running, it ignores any other pulses, which is why we're using a hopper clock here, guys. That is numero uno for that, because using a comparator clock or anything else would be one, much bulkier to get the timing right, and two, we would have to put in redundancies so it ignored extra calls. We want this thing, doesn't matter how many times it flashes, just to acknowledge the first one, do one cycle, send another batch, and then accept an impulse after that and not before that. Now what we got going on underneath here is you can see that line. I also brought up here. So when we're in the off state, which this is now, you can tell because that's up. It's locked in the up position from that wiring. These repeaters here are coming over here and powering this block. And that's locking this hopper here. Okay? That is locking that hopper ATM. We actually need to tap our line into that. So you can see it's not working. It's not taking in items. And that's why we put that comparator here with this light. It's just another visual indication for me that, hey, I've got a batch waiting in here. That's it. That's all. So it's a queue, right? It's a queue. Now, we're actually going to create another queue over here. And this one's going to be actually the most important out of all of them, believe it or not. This one is key important. Because they changed the way hopper lines work, we actually need to put a lock on our hoppers. So we're going to use this, meaning while there's an order going, while this is powered, we're going to lock the hoppers up in here. And it has to be the bottom one in a row. Okay, so not one of the middle ones in a row, otherwise they won't stop. They'll get pulled right through from the one underneath it. So we need to have this locked, and what that's going to do is when the items get called, if we were to stand here and visually watch it, we'd see the first item drop. So let's say like a melon slice, and then a pause because the rest are further down the hopper line. Now they actually follow their timing of 2.5 items a second. So we'd see the first one, which is closest. Then we'd see the next couple drop. And then shortly after that, finally, our nether wart. And that's where the 11 items come into play here. It was just a trial and error for the length of our hoppers and how much time it would take them to get the items here. Worked out to be 11 on that bad boy. So yeah, that's the trick with that. That is the magic in that regard. So let's say it's in the middle of collecting an order here and just releasing it when I turn the system off. That's another reason we have two locks here. If it releases and then I queue it and it locks, it's going to hold part of the order down here in that one, which is locked right now. And wait, what? Oh, sorry, I'm staring at the wrong comparator. It's going to hold part of the order here while this finishes a cycle. Then it's going to send the rest down and it'll end up with the whole order there for the potion. So even if my timing's off when I click the off switch, this double lock is a built-in redundancy to make sure the whole order is grouped together before it starts traveling across to go to our actual brewers. Yeah. All right, people. We're just about done. Just about done. There are a couple things I needed to change. That's supposed to be a 4. That's a 2. Every other one is 1. I should double check and make sure these are all 4s. I should have done that off camera. Yeah, they look good. They look good. Okay, so I screwed up over here. I had a repeater there and a repeater there to like strengthen the signal so they were either both on or off instead of the farthest one going off first and then that one going off, just because repeater, right? But I moved this compared to where it was in my test world. So I had a big hole in the item elevator, so I had to switch it to this way. So when the chest gets low, the right one's gonna turn off first, and then the left one when it's like empty. Now, also, I've sealed everything in glass to, minimize the impact of an accidental water spill. And I completely forgot about something. These lights are not gonna shut off. As you can see, that's off because I'm not using chests. I'm not measuring from droppers or chests. I'm measuring from a hopper. When I first decided to use the lights, I was measuring from chests up top or droppers up top. So yeah, that kind of screws that up. Basically, they're glorified lighting now. They're all gonna stay lit, so I'm gonna have to check the torch instead of checking the light to see which one's out. I could move the comparators up and measure at the dropper, and that would weaken the signal when they're out so they wouldn't like cross power each other, because that's what's going on right now. Is this one's got such a strong signal strength that's powering this one, even though it's not getting power from the comparator. So whatever, it still turns the torch off, which is the main point. So one other thing, we don't have a gas farm yet, so this is disabled. Also, we probably got a year before I can fill this thing up with rabbit's foot, so this is also disabled. That's why you see the torches up top there, out of the way instead of on the line. And I also moved the redstone blocks off so the pistons can't even grab them. That way there's no way to trigger them even if I accidentally push the button. Okay? So yeah, that's the thing. I've double checked everything. We've got our dropper elevator in. Tested it out a few times to make sure I've got it as silent as possible. And also, I don't think I've shown you guys this trick. But see how... Let's just go right down so you can see it. Now I'm going to have to kill this guy. See how I've actually got a comparator there? Or a repeater there pointing direct into the dropper? So there's actually another observer underneath that looking at the repeater. So when that line powers, it's going to power the repeater, which will start our dropper elevator, but it's also going to activate that observer, and in turn this one watching it is going to get activated and will start the clock. So that's just another way to cycle those clocks, and that lets you get a repeater in there if you want like a super silent one, because that just helps control the pace. You know what I mean? Also, yeah, basically all this glass is laid out the way it is just to prevent from spills messing with my redstone. Lastly, this chest. Blaze powder. So all the other ones I will show you. All the other ones here, we're actually refilling them by, when you go and you prime these, you need to, before you start the system, put a nether wart in each one because it's a trailing, not a leading. So when you do that, you can actually just put a couple stacks of blaze powder. You can put up to 4 really and just have 1 for the water bottles sucking out of the chests. I think 2 is plenty. 3 is how many water bottles it uses, so hey. That will refill them without having a separate line. And then over here, just for symmetry, because they've all got hoppers, I put that chest and the blaze powder will refill this one automatically. Also, I can just come when I need to fill the other ones manually, the hoppers. I can just grab a couple stacks here and it'll come down from that chest I've got in the back. So I don't need to go to the back to get it. Water's primed. All the ingredients are in. We can see, yes, we shut the 2 correct off because we don't have stock for them yet. Now, we just need to hook this bad boy up. So you can see I've got it primed into a hopper here. And actually I screwed that up. Dang it, Bobby. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we actually don't want that there. We want a comparator there. Okay. And we can actually make this bigger. There's no reason not to. And then let's just put a dummy block here, because that's where our shulker box is going to come out. Now, I put 2 droppers in there just for looks, but we're actually only going to have one that is functional. So we need this bad boy, up in there to push down. And then we need to set up how this thing triggers. So from this point, this part inside is done. So we're going to close it off like so. And we're going to put these here so when it pushes down, it breaks them. And then we have our chest access here for the shulkers to go into. Again, we don't necessarily need them all the time, but because we've got more than ample storage built into this. That was very, very important. I had to make sure, just in case I don't want to use the shulker boxes at the time, let's say I'm using them all doing something else. We've got 1, 2, I think 6, 3, 4, 5, 6 double chests plus all the hoppers, which is way more than we're going to need. So now what we need up in here to fire this is these slimes, man. They're always up in my face. We need an observer facing like so. Let's actually move our dispenser for now. And it has to be a dispenser, guys, not a dropper. Very important. We're going to put that there. And you see how that fires it? So we're going to take a comparator output, run it into there, and that's going to trigger what triggers our system. At the same time, we can put our dispenser back now. Nope. I'm an idiot. We're going to have to go downstairs to do that. At the same time, we're actually going to run one of these this way. And we're going to have a sticky piston on it. What the sticky piston's going to do is when that fires, it's going to pull this redstone block up. I'm going to end up moving this door over again, I think. Yeah. Door must go here. There. Door will go there, I tell you. Door will go there. There. I'll do that off camera. You get the gist. Yeah, we'll have it go like that. It's going to pull that block up, which will toggle our dispenser. Now, we still need a way of telling it when, guys, that we want it to move. We want it to break the shulker box. So we're going to put another comparator here. We're going to put a chest here, and I'm going to fill it with water bottles. So it'll detect a chest full of water bottles, and it'll use that as the gauge for the rest of the system. And actually, looking at this now, I'm glad I brought that, because I think we're going to put that right up in there. So yeah, give me a minute. I'll BRBs. Yep, I'm an idiot. I completely forgot to mention to you guys that the whole reason we were putting a comparator here was so we could measure that there's stuff in the system, right? Yeah, measuring stuff. Why? So we could send the signal into here to say, hey, there's items there, dummy. Maybe fill your shulker boxes. Yep. The repeaters, just whatever. I could have just run the redstone line flat out, but, you know, and half slab there, so we're not locking the dispenser for this. Pretty simple. You know how it is. Did the best I could to make that as silent as possible, except when it first starts up and, you know, empties. Just the high speed. That's how it's gonna be. Okay, guys. Well, water bottles are full. And all the goodies are full. So, should we start the system? Well, we used a ton of blaze powder. So, I'm thinking I need to go to the AFK Blaze Farm and kill their faces. And for that, we're going to want some death potions. Splash Potion of Harming. Level 2. Splash, right? So da. Melons. All the other ones are off. Hi, stupid. Here goes nothing. Ready? The moment. Oh, we heard the clock start. We heard the clock start. Oh, it's filling. Oh, it's brewing. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Oh my goodness. Oh, look, there's another one. Okay, let's go up top and make sure all the ingredients are cycling through properly and everything. I did double check all the wiring before we started up, but you never know with a project this big. The odds are pretty good that you miss something, right? It's always a possibility. So let's just go double check. So what we should see is, yep, that was a good sign. Okay, it's calling for another order. Melon, followed by the rest of the stuff. 1, 2, 3, nether wart. Just enough time before it releases. And then, like I said, if it was off, you would see them locked down here. But it looks like we're in business, peeps. It looks like the system. Oh yeah, look, we got a bunch of brewers going already. It looks like it's working as intended. We can now bulk brew all the things. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna definitely be going to get the stuff, the blaze powder, because among other things we've used a crap ton. Instant damage, instant damage, instant damage. Well, it will be instant damage. Yeah, they all look like they're working right. So we have a total of 9 here, guys. That was mainly the function of like the size of the room. You could make it however many you want because it calls for them when it needs them, right? But yeah, 9 I found is a pretty sweet spot. It can fill it up occasionally. Most of the time, with the longer potions, it'll run 7 or 8. The faster ones, it only hits like 4 or 5. Oh, did you hear that? We have potions. We have potions. We have potions. So now we should just be able to stick this bad boy in and it'll start filling shulker boxes for me. Oh, so excited. So excited. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. This is amazing. It's amazing, guys. I am happy. This project I've wanted to do for a while, but we had to wait for them to fix the hoppers and the brewers. I'm ecstatic now that it's finally here. And we even got the brewing stations on the bottom all loaded up and ready to go for manual brewing, just in case I want to do just one batch here or there. So guys, the frickin' man cave's almost complete. It's amazing. I mean, we got a couple more projects to go, like the wood farm, but that's about it. Then we can start doing crazy stuff out in the rest of the world. I love it. So as always, guys, smash that like if you enjoyed the episode to help others like yourself who might enjoy the content find the channel. And if you're new and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more videos, peeps. We do awesome stuff like this all the time on the channel. As always, thanks for watching. Bye.